is like playing at the nah. Playing at the playground, basketball, exercise, playing with walking dogs, sitting on the benches and sitting in the shade when possible. We also asked what you would like to see improved at Penniman Park, and those comments are kind of organized into three categories. Enhance, so what's already there and what can be better. Um, Improving the courts, having more shade, more seating. Lawn activation became a big point of conversation during community meeting one. And then there was feedback around adjust. So maybe connectivity between spaces. So these are things that are like maybe just a little bit more um, require a little bit more creative thinking than just improving what's there. Thinking about play surfaces, thinking about lawn programming, and then add. So, like, what are the new things that we want? Again, gathering areas, program, shade, fitness equipment also came up as a conversation. Max also mentioned that we had a follow-up session with community gardeners, and that was a really great session. At the end of that session, one of the big ideas that came out of that was, what if we shifted the community garden away from that large canopy tree? What if we had a little bit of a sunnier spot? That was kind of a real big icebreaker moment for us, and you'll see that in some of the options. Some other things that came away from that conversation was a preference for a single access gate from Penniman Road. So making sure that you're fully fenced on all four sides. That the basketball court is a really good neighbor, that there's actually this great relationship between the kids playing basketball and the gardeners. Um, we also talked about how sometimes the lawn feels very hot, just based on the existing trees, and maybe that leads to some of the activation issues. So we're going to talk through three design concepts. Based on the community meeting one feedback, we started to create some goals to help guide these concepts. The first is maximizing multi-generational play and gathering, creating a smooth transition between programs, providing more seating, more shaded gathering areas, activating the lawn as much as possible, potentially integrating it with the rest of the park experience, if possible, increasing play value and maximizing play opportunities, improving the basketball court and seating, and then maintaining and protecting the existing trees and the next generation of tree canopy. This is what the existing park is today, and there's a couple of categories that we have been using to benchmark these concepts that you see in the back of the room and what you'll see later on in the show. The first is play space. How can we maximize the amount of play space that we have? Trees and shade. How can we increase the trees, have the shade be more valuable in terms of the experience? What are we going to do about the open lawn? What are we going to do about the seating? Having it be located in a place that makes sense, that people want to come to, that's also adjacent to programming. We have some thoughts on the community garden, and we also have some thoughts on the basketball court. So every single concept is going to start to think about these different categories. Since we did community meeting one, we also have done a tree survey. So there are 17 healthy trees. The tree warden has recommended that we keep on the site and we maintain and protect. There are 3 trees noted in red that they have suggested we remove due to poor health conditions, structural damage. And then there are 2 which are shown in yellow on Penniman Road, which were noted as these are trees that are going to need some significant maintenance in order to take them from fair or poor condition to good condition, or sort of suitable condition. And so the tree warden said to us that if the design means that these 2 trees need to be removed and replaced, then that's okay. But it's really how the design starts to suggest the layout. Okay, so Kaki's going to talk through the 3 options.
So I'm on the third shift. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us. We've got, well, little group of us here who braved all the snowbanks, and thank you for joining us online as well. So as Max laid out and Jen as well, we have three concepts to share with you tonight and to get your feedback. On the right, we just move this thing a little bit. Um, on the right, we have a sort of a list of what is included in all three options. So we're maintaining the healthy existing trees. Jen just talked about that in more detail. We're going to add new trees and make sure that the play area is shaded. That's going to happen in all three schemes. We are either maintaining the size of the play or increasing it in across the schemes. We maintain the size of the community garden. And in all three, we also shift the vehicular access to the alley so that you all kind of are aware that there's is that registering? Yeah. Right around in this zone, there is sort of a duplication of circulation here, vehicular circulation. In all three schemes, we grab that back for use as part of the park on the north edge of the playground. And I think another summary moment or comment here is that we reduce the amount of the paved or the impermeable surfaces in all three schemes. So I'm going to go into each one in more detail, but this is sort of a summary page, and we'll return to a page like this later for discussion. But the first one we call refresh. And the basic concept here is that the relationships of the different program elements remain in their current locations. We're not making any big switcheroos. We're doing modifications and slight reallocations, mostly at the edges, but all things kind of remain in place with, significant improvements. Concept 2, we're calling trade. And then this one, we are moving the basketball court and we're swapping the current lawn, more passive open space further down Penniman, and bringing that program element up to where the basketball court is. And then in the third concept, we're calling it shuffle. Jen was mentioning this as well. We are indicating an option where the community garden has a swap with the passive area. Basketball court also shifts. It's sort of a reshuffling. We'll go into them in more detail. So this is the refresh. Again, things are basically where they currently remain. In this case, we are able to sort of also, I want to just note on all schemes, the stars indicate locations of park entry. So that's a common through all schemes, just so everyone's clear. Also, in general, I'd say that for the most part, the way in which you enter the park remains in all these schemes, for the most part, fairly similar. But that's a way to track that, is the locations of the stars. So again, play is in the same place. You can see we're indicating, and again, after this meeting is when we'll dive into the more specifics about what the play equipment is and how it's placed, but this is showing a robust bank of swings and two play areas, an area allocated for the 2 to 5 age range and the 5 to 12. In between that play space is sort of a very refreshed, as you know, that doesn't exist now, area for seating under trees, getting some shade in there. And we see this as sort of a helpful sort of two-sided seating zone that might support the basketball and support play. The basketball court remains where it currently is. And, again, using the feedback from the arborist report and the tree warden, we sort of modify and either are keeping existing trees or certainly supplementing, as Jen stated as well. As we said, that's happening in all three schemes. The community garden remains as is. And then you see the lawn space is modified. We're sort of looking at a sort of darker, the darker green is really representing a sort of more robust sort of planted edge, lawn held in the center. Circulation still works through, allows you to pass through. And that pink zone is really suggesting the possibility of perhaps a shade structure and seating of varying types. And we'll get into more conversations about that. Options, whether it's more sort of cafe tables or game tables, benches, etc. We're also indicating, you'll see this sort of dashed line that happens where we're trying to also sort of share that there's nice circulation routes within the park that support things like triking without having to leave the park or go out onto sidewalks. So that's another, so you can sort of see that in the legend. You'll see that also, that option showing up in other schemes. So all these sort of different features I talked about on this slide, we're showing example photographs of those things we're talking about. So whether it's the seating here at number one, this idea that there are benches, you're able to sit in the shade, you're under tree canopy. The trike loop I mentioned, which we think is a fun design feature and also works for circulation for everybody. A possibility of a shade structure over here in the more passive gathering space, which just helps bring in some climate comfort and also is really a way of making a place, right? A structure like this actually creates sort of an outdoor room. And it feels maybe a little more sort of programmed and understood as a space to spend time. A variety of furnishing here, some sort of built-in. This is an example of some sort of built-in benches with backs and the ability to sort of pull up movable furniture in this case. And you can see that checkerboard indicating the, possibility of a sort of a game table option. And then, open lawn space. So Jen had sort of shared these sort of icons, and we're just sort of reiterating that again, that all of those features show up in this concept as well. We're looking at the sort of metrics of it are that the play in this scheme increases by approximately 450 square feet. 16 new trees are shown as being planted. And we kind of, again, are trying to be sort of thinking with our sort of placemaking hats is that we have a really clear gathering space in that passive zone, which I think people were struggling with, like how to read and understand how to use it. And we're really trying to make a place here that is, it's also adjacent to the community garden. It could be that it's a very supportive space for community garden activities or other kind of community gathering. And also really seating, sort of making sure that seating is available for caretakers with children in the play and also using the basketball court. This is also showing a standard size 94 by 50 basketball court, just so everyone's clear on scale there. Concept 2, trade. So here we start to move things around a little bit, a little more dramatically, as I said, and the basketball court is pulled out from its current location and pulled down Penniman Road to where the passive space is. And I think I'll sort of start there. We are showing room, so it's again a similar size court. Seating is provided along the edges. We also thought in this scheme there's the possibility of adding potentially a few pieces of outdoor fitness equipment adjacent to the court, which starts to kind of concentrate more active play in one location. Similar strategy here where we are keeping or supplementing the existing trees at the edges. Community garden stays in place. Play is increased in size, and really the arrival point on Penniman and Haino of the park moves from being really the experience of the basketball court to open lawn and some seating, a little bit of gathering here in the pink. And similar sort of strategies here, precedents here to just sort of have you understand what we're kind of thinking. An idea here that the seating could be a little more sort of tiered here and give a little bit of height. And again, two-sided. We think, making things as versatile as possible where you're addressing the lawn or facing outward toward Haino could be helpful. Examples here of the outdoor fitness that we're talking about. The play here really is increased in size, and I'm not remembering the exact numbers, but it's on the next slide, I think. But it's significantly increased, so we have more opportunities, more pieces of play equipment in there. You'll also see a little extra pink box in here, which is a suggestion of a smaller scale court, a mini basketball court for much younger people. So there's sort of not perhaps tension between the littlest basketball players and larger adult-sized players. So yes, this is really almost double in size in this scheme. The play area is just about double in size, the current condition. Again, the element of fitness is in here, all sorts of seating. This is the scheme showing 23 new planted trees. And much of the other sort of similar program elements from the other scheme remain the same. So 3, again, is what we're calling shuffle. And in this case, the community garden is pulled out of sort of the center of the open space and pulled to one end. The basketball court shifts a bit, and that opens the corner of Penniman and Haino for a sort of large lawn. And play is more similar in size to the current condition. This scheme, what this does obviously is sort of allows all of the sort of moving play and lawn space to sort of come together and be, fully connected. There's more easy connection and movement between the more passive lawn and the more active two pieces of play, the playground and the court. You can see a big red star as a reminder to all of us that the original park budget was not developed with the idea that money would be allocated toward the community garden. And that reality remains in place. There were conversations, it was not without sort of effort, but the park budget will not be increased. So what we're just trying to make everyone aware of in this scheme is that dollars that would go toward the movement of the garden, new fencing. I mean, really, it's not necessarily insignificant. We would be making accessibility upgrades. It would need new fencing. Those sorts of things were not sort of on the, as I said, on the budget development list at the time that Parks put this, got this project into their budget process. And so we'd be pulling the money that was, allocated to basketball court and passive space upgrades and needing to make it all work. So that's a sort of a reality that we want to make sure everyone feels sort of clear about. And, so let's see, I'll just sort of the precedents, again, so what that means is lawn or, we're keeping the play back at the square footage that it currently is. We are trying to make sure that this is a more generous lawn, but the sort of gather and seating areas are more minimized. We're trying to figure out a way that, it's our responsibility to make sure that we can tell Max that the budget can be met So that's how things sort of change in this scheme. Um, Maintain the play area. We are showing 26 new trees in this one. By the way, I don't think any of us had said this, but there's mixing and matching is possible here, of course. These concepts are set up for a point of discussion and to some degree, and that's why we're all gathered here is for feedback around that. So we're showing 26 new trees here. All schemes could have 26 trees worked into them. Things like that, I think, if are possible in really many, all the schemes. So um, uh, I think another key thing is the basketball court is sort of pushed a bit further. It's further back from the sidewalk and Penniman Road than it is now. It's sort of justified toward the back of the park, which, you know, in our minds sort of shifts how the experience of walking down Penniman feels a little bit. You're a little bit distance from the tall fence that's needed for basketball. So again, trying to get more lawn in there, which is from a basic cost per square foot metric is the most has the most value to it. A little bit of seating between lawn and basketball. Play remains the same, large lawn at the corner of Haino and Penniman. And then the community garden is allocated further down Penniman. So we have a very joyful slide here with many different types of precedents for for play. The top line is showing age appropriate, the 5 to 12 age appropriate play equipment. You see on the left a net climber, in the middle a very large sort of group spinning piece. The next bubble over here is, you know, more of a tower, sort of a high, sort of more vertical element that also incorporates slides. And then there's sort of another category of more kind of gross motor, strength and agility type of play. In the middle, you know, we think it's always important to have play that allows for socialization, is not always about sort of large gross motor. That includes swings, whether it's a group swing or more individual swings. And then these sort of more seating elements, whether it's sort of a more playful kind of platform bench, which is for sitting, but also could become a small stage for imaginary play. O'Day Park in the South End as a park we worked on, and these hangout for the Parks Department, these sort of hangout pieces have been quite popular there as well. So that's sort of a different sort of category play. We always like to make sure we have that involved in the playgrounds that we design. And then the lower line here, the 2 to 5. So we talked about triking, wanting to make sure there's a fun and safe circuit for children exploring on their trikes. Sensory play, more tactile pieces often comes into the 2 to 5. Imaginary play also emerges with things like little houses. And then also, you know, climbers and slides are also very relevant for 2 to 5 as well, just sort of a different scale. So again, the summary slide of all 3 of the concepts. And I think Jen, we're going to pause for some comments now. Am I saying that so at the right time? Yeah. So I've been sort of talking a lot, but here's the summary of those 3. We can also sort of go back to slides. I want to just pause for a minute and ask Hannah if there's a check-in on chat and if there's anything we should address in the chat. Okay, so far. Okay. So then let's open it to the group here. And if we hear your question, I'm gonna repeat it so that folks online will have a better chance of making sure they can hear. So if there are comments or if you want me to return to a slide, whatever, you let us know. it's nice having a small group, actually. Hi, yeah,
Question about concept 3.
yes.
Is there a trike loop around there?
Oh, good question. And I think it's not shown there, but it's probably something if we could figure out a way to do. I feel confident that. So you're right. It didn't emerge immediately to us. Is that things are, there's narrower, smaller amounts of pavement, this sort of interface between play and lawn. So this did not immediately emerge as a clear trike loop system yet, anyway, at this stage in the concept. But it could, I think we feel confident we could achieve if we end up working through this scheme.
Yeah, to your point about mix and match, if the trike
Yeah.
is something that we want,
It's just,
then
yeah,
that's something.
we can make it happen. Just go back to there. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess just to understand better the trade-offs.
Yeah.
Is the intent that like the entire park is gonna get raised and rebuilt? Or I'm trying to understand because there's substantial differences in terms of reuse, maybe, of the existing structure under, say, concept 1 versus concept 3. But when I look at the contents, there doesn't seem to be as much of a reduction, I guess, as I would expect to see if you're completely, is the intent to like, you're gonna take out the existing base basketball court anyway and put in all new asphalt, et cetera?
Yes, it is.
So it would
Yes,
be
I mean,
effectively
the play area, I mean, I think you all can see and I don't remember the dates of the last renovation, but it is, sort of, it greatly needs a reset and a refresh. There's no way to really save that equipment. There's no way to save certainly the surfacing needs to be removed. Similarly with the basketball court, it's in patch mode. It really needs a full proper resurfacing. Yes. So in that way, that's right. So the difference between 1 and 2, in 1, the basketball court is being completely resurfaced and the fence is coming down, it's being resurfaced. It just happens to stay in the same location. But we are needing to repave the basketball court, period, no matter whichever location it goes in. Is that answering your question?
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's the point is that I was trying to make, but heading into 3 has the sort of asterisk with it, which is that as the Parks Department team X years ago to allocate budgets, they're assessing Penniman. It's very clear the basketball, the play, and also the passive space need attention. And the budget is allocated with that assessment in mind. And I would also say, I think it's fair to say, the Parks Department has the expectation that all 3 of those things are improved. So budget needs to go through. We can't sort of say, we're going to move the community garden, but not resurface the basketball court. I think that's not an option. Okay, so.
So concept 1 is the cheapest, if that's the right word, least expensive concept?
I don't think we would necessarily say that.
Concept 3 would be the most expensive, as you mentioned.
It feels that way, but we would balance it by not increasing play. Concept 1, I understand why you'd say that, but for example, play equipment ranges greatly. We might get a more interesting, taller tower. Right, those are all the things that we're weighing.
Kind of a more general question. Nancy and I have been in the community garden, I don't know, 34 years maybe, so we've seen that neighborhood change. In the last few years, a new neighborhood's been built around there.
Yes.
And I have some idea who's living in those new units. But I'm not sure. I don't know if you guys have looked into that. Those are gonna be your most probable customers. They can walk across the street and walk up the street.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many of them are families. They have kids, in other words, for an enlarged, and I'm not against play lots at all. But whether that be a call for a larger, the Horner housing is what it is. It probably won't change in population. So it seems to me I keep going back to concept one as basically fixing up what you have.
Fixing what's there. Yep,
We've-
okay.
The green space from the garden for years, many of us said it needs more trees, couple died.
Yeah,
And it's a grassy heat island in the summer.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, it needs more,
so
it needs more
trees are
shade.
great. A large tree by the garden will stay, I believe.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And I think in meeting one, we had folks who were adjacent neighbors, and we heard from folks who say, I live across the street, and so I don't know if any of them are online or in the room, but that's why we're having these meetings. And we welcome input, and we have a second survey, and I'll put that link up so for everybody online and here. Yeah, another question.
Can you explain about the height of the fencing in each one of those I assume the height of the fence would be the same around each element of the playground, but what is the height of the fence and where is it for example, I'm assuming that you're gonna have tall fence around the whole basketball court and not as tall fencing around the community garden? I'm not.
The community garden fence, as if the community garden fence doesn't, the community garden fence in schemes 1 and 2 will remain as is.
How tall is it?
It's
6 feet?
7, maybe.
It's 10 feet.
and basketball court is 10 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was
So with it being in the middle, it's pretty much, well, okay, basically, there'll be fencing around every element anyway.
Yes, I mean, that's true, but if you, I think we did this in our first, we don't want to go down a rabbit hole of fences right now, but there is a lot of duplicative fence out there right now.
Right.
And we see ways that there will be less runs of fence. You get caught in paths out there right now, right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Especially, it's very strong feeling of like,
Yeah.
um,
Everything is all its own island.
yes.
Yeah.
And so as we get into, once a concept is chosen, we will really be, and that's what meeting 3 will be about, is we'll really be able to share with you that next level of detail and test a couple of ideas with you. Maybe it's like in scheme 1, concept 1, if we were to keep it, maybe it's 10 feet on 3 sides of the basketball court, but that 4th side that shares with play, maybe we test an idea with all of you that it's a little bit shorter there, for example. Anyway, there's sort of lots of ways for us to think about it, but we are very aware that there just feels like there's a lot of fence. There's a perimeter fence, then a play fence. So we're really excited, and that's what, and to sort of one of those original questions about, are we touching everything and kind of raising it? Yes, because it helps us get to those sorts of things. We can see the layers of changes and adjustments over time that, decisions were made, and without the ability of looking at the whole place. And that's what's a really exciting opportunity here, is that we're not trying to just fix a few pieces of play equipment, but we can really look at it. And there's a lot of extraneous fence out there, it seems to us. So anyway, yeah.
Did you look at an option to generally keep the play space in the basketball court where they are, but swap the lawn and garden so that there's, all of the active spaces are on one side, and then the lawn is connected to sort of both of them?
Right.
We did. And what we felt was a huge benefit of having the lawn moved to the entrance corner is that the lawn kind of suffers from a lack of activation, and kids are really great activators of open lawn. Yes.
And this relationship, we just thought felt
And so moving the lawn as close as possible to the playground, the lawn starts to become an informal play space. Kids can, they can play frisbee, they can kick a soccer ball with each other. It becomes more than just the dog walking space. And so, and then having the basketball court as close to the community garden as possible still keeps that like sort of very friendly relationship happening. So that was one thing that led us to this sort of scheme 3, the shuffle scheme.
Yeah, that putting the lawn in the middle wasn't moving the needle of this, this location that folks had, we're trying to really maximize it. But there's, in meeting 1, I think people weren't sure what to think of it. And we think we are kind of in option 1, giving it more presence and a place. But it is why we felt strongly about having other options, just pull the lawn. And it also ties into this idea of arrival at the park and coming down the street and having it feel like, oh, there's a green space. It's a park. and as you sort of approach from this intersection, it feels like a green park. I think is another part of our thinking in addition to that what we think is a really rich adjacency of open run around play near more structured play.
My understanding is that the basketball court is also very popular, so it has sort of a self-reinforcing activation component to it. So our sense was that it could kind of move around the park footprint and still feel active. It would still be popular.
It's never not right. It's never gonna suffer from not being used. It's an important piece. Yeah.
So in scheme 1, you have a path going through the lawn. Is there an entrance on the alley side?
There is currently, that's a current condition. And so we're keeping that same condition.
Another question.
Yeah.
So I like concept 3, the shuffle. I think it preserved, like when I think of community garden, I think more peaceful, quiet endeavors versus a basketball court. So when you move the concept 2 in trade, when you move the basketball court over to where the lawn used to be, I'm thinking if I lived in that house at the corner of that, where that lawn, like the end house, where the end corner of the lawn is, and all of a sudden I have basketball court players playing at like 8 p.m. or 10 p.m. at night in the back of my house, I would not like it very much. So I really don't like moving the basketball court that close to more residential area or like those houses. Whereas in concept 1 and 3, I kind of think they're kind of used to the court where they are now.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'll say that based on how sound
yeah,
acts, I don't really think there's going to be a
It's not
difference.
that
I really don't. That the way the neighborhood and the topography works, and unless we were to sound barrier around that basketball court, I think the sound is really something that's felt not just by immediate adjacent, that it's sort of just part of the neighborhood, sounds of the neighborhood, I would say. I don't think that's a significant difference, actually, based on how sound waves, acoustics would work. Hannah, anything online? Just a little, okay? Quiet online, okay?
Just the one thing that, as a parent, it's very nice to have available seating near where your children are playing. So
Yes.
I like the concept 2, where you've got that passageway. It also allows, I know why, but there tends to be a segmentation in a lot of parks between children and older people.
Yeah.
And that one kind of brings multi-generational together a little bit.
So say again, which one are you focused on? What?
Concept 2, the trade.
Two, yeah.
You've got the lawn, which I think, would be something that, older people could use. You had the kind of the game tables, that sort of thing.
Yep.
I might look to do something different than the mini basketball court that's
Mhm.
more for, like a broader age group.
Yeah,
Um,
so this is the kind of feedback we want. We also think there's a possibility that
ping pong.
the basketball court, another approach would be that the basketball court side, the long ends, we've done this successfully at a park in, in the South End for Boston Park, where we, added some lower hoops on the long side. So, and it kind of clusters the basketball activity together. So, but fair enough. And, we're sort of also trying to show that there could be an allocation for something different there, but helpful. That's helpful feedback. Great.
I know that maybe the current population doesn't have that many children, but, it's kind of, if you build something that's not welcoming to children, you're not going to have children in the neighborhood
Yeah.
either. So
Well,
it's kind of a
yeah, it's a,
type of thing.
I also want to say that we're aware that, there are daycare center that does spend time here, I think all the time or more than one. So we are very mindful of that community and that those populations of children who really are using it daily and really rely on it. So it's both, neighbors, a neighborhood park, but it's also serving, a larger catchment of children too.
Questions from the chat.
Great.
First, wondering if you could reiterate just exactly where the community garden will be in concept 3. And for the second question, will there be any additional changes to buildings near the lawn in concept? I'm thinking that's an exterior to the park. I don't think there's any existing structures.
Yeah, so, we are not aware of new development plans. I mean, this is all existing construction along Hano Street.
No, right
Could I-
next to it.
There is
Oh,
a
here,
former labor union building.
Yes.
It's been sold and it's a huge
and
lot.
there's a
And
development.
there's a development
plan.
proposal. So if the concept 3, the community garden, there could very well be, a 6-story building
Yeah.
next to it,
Yep.
which would shade it.
That's right. So, we're not sure that the shade
Yeah,
becomes
shade.
a factor. You can, that it, luckily, that new development is really, northeast of the garden.
Yeah. Lake Day Sun.
Um,
Well, the place across the street said it wouldn't shade our garden either, and it does.
right, fair enough. Okay, I understand.
That was a developer.
No, that's an interesting question, sorry.
Yeah.
But what Nancy mentioned, but that building is north of the garden.
Yeah.
We've looked at sort of
Yeah.
the shade
Yeah.
tool. I forget who asked, who.
Yeah, we did look at it the last meeting. It came up at the last
Very
meeting.
handy.
But, north, in other words, is up in this direction.
Yeah.
So I think that is helpful.
Actually look at this part for a case study as for sunlight impacts. So yeah, we have to be very careful.
And I think, Hannah, to the first question, I guess what I would say is in concept 3, the community garden moves into the space that is currently the passive lawn area, basically speaking, is the way to think about it. So which is the sort of, northeast end of the park. The way to think about it is that the open lawn space is in concept 3 is moving the garden into what is currently the sort of open lawn space.
Yeah, we took care to keep the same square footage as we were doing the shuffle. You can see that the footprint gets a little bit longer.
Elongated.
So that's, we're trying to protect those existing trees that are there now.
One other comment, sort of reiterating the idea of the basketball court, shifting and, ideas around sound is, Ruth is mentioning that moving the basketball court would create, would make it more centralized within the houses and apartments, which may affect noise levels. Which maybe, could, also affect, applies to what you were mentioning earlier, talking about sound kind of being centralized already where the basketball court currently is located.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's relative degrees of, and without a very dramatic, costly acoustic study, but this comes up on projects and, without mass to stop the sound and contain it, it travels. So, that's, sort of the basic.
What is the budget? How much money's been allocated for this project?
I never remember numbers, and so I can't answer you. Yeah, it's in the
One of those.
Just over, just under.
yeah, plus or minus in the 2 million range. Yeah.
There was a schedule earlier, didn't see all of it. For meetings, construction, that sort of thing, where does that put us?
Okay, right. All right, just close your eyes. You'll be fine. Sorry, it's the easiest way to do it. There we go. Whoop. There we go. So we are here at community meeting 2. Between the feedback this evening and the survey, and I'll get back to that page, which you can get the QR code for the survey, which is going to remain open for 3 weeks. So we are still gathering info, after this meeting. We will be, simmering on what emerges, and in the spring, when the snowbanks are mostly gone, we'll be back to have our 3rd meeting, and sort of, we're sort of trying to whittle down here, and Parks really runs a really excellent process that sort of keeps us on task and keeps things moving forward. So we'll meet with you, and we'll be kind of really sharing with you a scheme that might have a few moments of like, well, this or this, or this or this, a little bit, there'll be still plenty to kind of provide input and have impact. And then we'll take that last round of feedback in the community meeting 3 and be really working on the final set of drawings to turn into max. So I'm gonna just I'll go back to, well, I can just do it even right here. Anything else, Hannah? Okay. Yeah.
If all of the major elements are gonna need to be completely redone, like the basketball court.
Yep.
Like that. Why does that take so much away from the total budget to do this concept 3 shuffle? And is it, I mean, if the fencing is gonna have to be redone anyway, and the court's gonna have to be redone anyway, in the play area anyway. It's the goal.
Well, the gardens, in and of themselves, it's sort of, it's a little deceiving, because we will need to, so that's a whole bunch more fencing, because there was, the community garden was not being re-fenced as part of the original budget. And we need to set up a whole new fence. Really just the act of soils, we will, it's also an opportunity in this way that We will be able to insert, we'll have to, water service, there are utility implications of moving the garden. So, some accessibility considerations that if it just sort of stays as is, we don't get into, but when we start to move things and refresh things, as a licensed professional, I have an obligation, as I, sign and stamp drawings that go out to bid. So the list sort of starts to add up, and it's we believe, significant enough that it means like, yeah, the play area, could be their sort of impacts. So I understand why it seems like, how could it really be that much? But we will want to get appropriate soils for all of you. That act alone, right? That, I mean, it's not necessarily a small undertaking. It's absolutely possible, but we're wanting to be sort of realistic here that we can't sort of set up a community garden with soil from wherever. We're going to want to give you proper growing soil that's been also is been properly sort of vetted. So at a depth that also is working for all of you as growers. So all those things, and it seems like a list of sort of relatively small things, adds up to make a difference in the other elements of the park. Like, for example, we can't, the cost of redoing the basketball court is the cost. We're not going to repave half of a basketball court. It has a certain area, it has a certain linear footage of fence. That's sort of a set cost where we start to, if we are then putting, on the community garden, we need to meet again a set of just basic standards, fence, soils, all these things I'm talking about. So where then do we have the movement? Well, little play, rubberized safety surfacing, reducing that. We can make a smaller play area. We can't make a smaller basketball court or there's certain things that just have standards to them that then end up with a kind of, in a way, a sort of a fixed cost that we have to assume, right? So that's what starts to happen.
For the gardens, you lose like the sort of sculptural seating, you lose the sort of double-sided stack seating, these like sort of gather options.
So some of the more special, like seating things start to have to leave the list.
You'll lose like the fitness opportunities. Play surfacing, as Kathy mentioned, is very expensive. It's a premium material, so keeping the playground at exactly the same square footage, you start to get savings there that you then shift towards the community.
Right. So anything else, Hannah? Okay, thumbs up from Hannah. I'm gonna quickly move through this again to get to the last couple of slides, and it will, which include the link to the survey. So those of you online and those of you here in the room, please take the survey. Please send it to your neighbors.
An email will be going out to everyone in 10 minutes with this link too.
Fantastic. So Max is saying, for those of you online, if you didn't hear, in the next 10 minutes, a link will be going out with the survey to your email. So you can get it that way. And the survey will be open for 3 weeks. Please encourage your friends and neighbors to take it. It really helps us. The more people who respond, the better this process is. So please, please. You will see a lot of the content that we talked about tonight and be able to provide more thorough feedback.
Got one more question. So is the survey gonna be sent out to the people who signed in here, or are we doing more?
If you're already on the email list, it will be going to you in 10 minutes. If not, I will add you to the list.
Okay.
Oh, also, yeah,
Also
there
on
are
the door.
QR codes right on the door there.
Are we, oh, sorry. Are we expected to do something back there? as
Yeah,
far
so
as-
that's what I'm gonna, so
Oh,
we're
okay.
trying to wrap up because
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
balancing a two-part meeting,
Alright.
which is great and exciting, but so this is our sort of first time doing it quite this way. So again, QR code, it's coming out in an email, it's posted on the door here, etc. Next meeting, as we mentioned, will be in the spring. Time and date is very much TBD. There is also information about the project on the website. The address is there. Max is also very available and his email is posted here.
So,
Um, and so the next piece is that, yes, we have much of the content that you've seen in the slideshow is on boards in the back of the room. And we are here to continue the conversations with all of you about the schemes. As you wish. Ta-da. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thanks all. And we're gonna stop